Well, you knew we were going to talk about it, so let's talk about it. I'm going to attempt to offer a nuanced perspective and not lean into my first instinct, which was to scream,
Oh, God! No! God, please, no! 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 No!
but in all seriousness, this is interesting. Baldur's Gate TV series continuing game story in works at HBO from The Last of Us co-creator Craig Mazin and Hasbro Entertainment. Now, I got some thoughts. The first thing to note is that Larian will have nothing to do with this, which we pretty much already knew, because Larian and uh, Wizards' professional relationship seems to have crumbled to dust. Wizards has a lovely little knack of burning them bridges. So that's concern number one for me. We're gonna have a completely different writing team. Like even with Last of Us, they had Naughty Dog involved. Neil Druckmann, the games runner, was involved with the show. So like it felt more, it felt like we could stay sort of on course with like the original vision of the game. This feels like it's going to be totally separated from that writing process. And it does say that, this is supposed to follow like some new protagonists. So I don't think it's going to necessarily center around our main six. More than likely, they'll just make some cameos and stuff like that or be like mentioned. But still, that kind of brings me to my second concern. Continuing what story, pray tell? Because the entire appeal of Baldur's Gate is that there's like a bajillion different possible endings. There are so many different directions that you and the companion characters can take throughout their journey, which is a big part of why I have always been pretty vocally against the idea of transitioning Baldur's Gate into something live action or a TV show or whatever, because of that. Because if you tell a narrative like that, it's going to pretty much require canonizing certain things. And you're not going to make everyone happy doing that. And I think that it kind of just takes away some of the appeal of the game is that, all of these things are possible versus just saying, oh, this is what canonically happened. I feel like The Last of Us is a totally different animal. Like, yes, I did enjoy that adaptation. Well, the first season for sure. The second season was all right. It was about as divisive as the second game, I guess. But I think The Last of Us is telling a clear through line narrative. Like, it's not like there's a lot of branching story paths for The Last of Us. All of the scripted things that are going to happen are going to happen. Like, you're not going to, you can't, like, find a different outcome for a lot of those things. That's a totally different sort of game design than Baldur's Gate 3 has. So I don't think that the type of game that Baldur's Gate is really lends itself to this sort of adaptation. I also sort of resent the idea that like everything needs a live action adaptation, that like no art, I feel like there's this attitude that like live action is like the gold standard and anything that isn't that is below that somehow. Like it's a lesser art form. Like I think certain art works well within its own medium. It's the same reason I don't want a live action K-pop Demon Hunters. Like, no, the beauty of that film is in its animation. Animation is good. Like it's like animation is its own artistic medium. There are stories, there are works of art that are best told through animation. There are other stories that are best told through live action. There are other stories that are best told through a video game with branching paths. There are stories that are best told with a story that doesn't have branching paths, like Last of Us. Like, there's so many different ways to tell a story, but all of these mediums are valid. And I'm so tired of like I feel like we should be so past the idea that animation is just for kids and video games is just like Mario Kart or something like that. Not that there's not a lot of artistry that goes into the Mario games too, but just like we're not playing like, Donkey Kong at the arcade anymore. Like the idea that video games aren't valid artistic mediums unto themselves is really, really chafing to me. Like I just don't like that. And I firmly believe that not everything needs to be adapted into a different medium. I think that some things are good with the medium that they are, and that we don't have to change that. There's also bound to be a lot of discourse about casting. If we do end up seeing our beloved characters from the game in this show as cameos or what have you, you know, will they be played by the original actors or will they be played by others? I know a lot of people are rooting for them to be played by their original actors. I'm going to be honest, I don't think that's likely. I don't think that's likely at all. Um, I think at, I think what you're more likely to see is those voice actors playing cameos, similar to The Last of Us. You know, the original voices of Ellie and Joel played cameos in the show, but they didn't play their own characters. There's a number of reasons I think this. A lot of them are sort of boring showbiz industry reasons. Scheduling, marketability, name recognition, et cetera, et cetera. Like there's a bunch of stuff that goes into it, but I'm just saying I would not hold my breath on those on all of those actors reprising their roles. And I just tremble to think of the fucking discourse that is bound to occur once, like, if casting starts becoming like a thing where they start saying, oh, we've casted so and so as Carlac, or so and so as Will, or so and so as a star. It's gonna be a hot ass mess. So I'm withholding judgment on the show, obviously, you know. I want to be like cautiously optimistic, but there is a part of me that's just screaming, I don't know about this one, guys. I don't know about this one. But what do y'all think? Give me your thoughts.